Welcome to the Live Greater podcast. Today we have on an awesome guest, Trish Meyers. I'm so excited for her to be on today. She and I know each other through business ventures. And so I'm through a group that we're in, and I'm excited to get to know her more through the podcast and for you as well. So welcome, Trisha.
Thank you so much for having me, Shelley.
You're welcome. So can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes. So my name's Trish, as Shelley said, and I'm a wife and mom of two wild, crazy, loving boys. And my history is that I went to school. My undergrad is in health, fitness, and psychology. And then I have my master's in occupational therapy. And for the last 10 years, I've been an occupational therapist working in mental health, working in pediatrics and geriatrics. And then the last year, I transitioned more into being a stay-at-home mom and entrepreneur.
Okay. So what prompted that change for you?
Lots of things.
Okay.
I absolutely love my job as an occupational therapist, but working with kids, they took a lot of energy out of me. And I felt like that energy needed to be more for my family than for my patients. And I absolutely loved what I did, so it was hard to give that up. But I just felt like God was calling me for something different, to be home, to have that intentional time with my family. And in that transition, that's kind of how I started my business, Inspired Memories Design.
Okay.
So.
And I think being a mom is one of the greatest callings we have, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I love how you're intentional in that and just wanting to focus that time. Sometimes in some periods of life, people can do both. But I think, being a mom is so important and being present. So what came of the Inspired Design? So where Inspired Memories Design, where'd that name come from? Or is there some history behind that? Or what is your focus for your business?
Well, it kind of started, like the background, we'll go back a little bit. When I was first started having my kids, I was home a lot. And then through part of COVID, we lived in a very small 2-bedroom duplex. And it was a great size for just my husband and I. But when you add 2 kids, in the abundance of equipment and toys and everything kids need, that 2-bedroom duplex became very small. I felt like it was like shutting me in. And it was just probably not a good mental space to be in with that amount of things. And then through COVID, we lived there, and it was just kind of a hard time. I just felt like I could never keep things clean, never keep things organized. And I just felt like I was drowning in that space. And the more I started trying to declutter, get organized, and in that, after COVID, we moved. And so now we have more space, and that in windows and greenery and nature, it all helped. But I just realized how important it is for our mental health, our well-being, to have a nice space, to have it beautiful, organized, clean, how much that truly impacts your well-being. And so that is kind of the background story of why I started Inspired Memories Design. And part of it too is being creative and crafty is one of my outlets to de-stress. So once I start making things, it just brings me joy, and I just want to share that with other people.
That's awesome. So does your occupational therapy background, does that come into play, do you think, with how, choosing this mental state and being intentional in that?
Yeah, I would say the majority of the time when I worked as an occupational therapist, I worked in mental health with pediatrics. So a lot of my main focus was just helping the kids self-regulate, teaching family strategies to help with self-regulation. So that definitely comes into play with that mental aspect of how does your house make you feel? How does that overall, does my space bring me calm? Does it help me relax? Does it help me reduce stress? Or on the opposite end, is it making me feel like I'm living in chaos and can't just focus?
So those are some of the things that you would talk about with your clients, like the space and everything?
Sometimes with the space. So a lot of the kids I worked with had like autism, ADHD.
Okay.
some of those different diagnoses. So the space for some of those kiddos absolutely affected.
Yeah.
So if it's too much going on, they just had a hard time regulating. So just calm things down, declutter, have less. Less is more a lot of times.
Yes, less is more a lot of times. Yeah. And I love about, you mentioned you're now in more nature. And I think nature is a great space for decluttering our minds and our spirit and everything, just kind of breathing a little better, right? And out in nature. So what are some help tips for moms who have kids, with a lot of stuff, or even moms without, kids might be grown and a lot of things are left over. We're moving right now. And so I have a few kids that are in college and I have all their boxes of memories stuff. And I was like, okay, I guess we'll take this and I'll have them come clean it out later. But, and then I have stuff from when I was a kid or whatever. And so what are your suggestions for, decluttering your spaces to make it just better, happier living space?
Yes. So I would recommend that spaces you're in the most to start there. So say you like to be in the living room. So a spot that you try to sit down and relax in, if you look around and are always seeing piles of mess, I always think of it as, and I guess I should say a disclaimer, I am not the most neat and organized person. My house is chaos sometimes. I have 2 kids, we're very busy. But it comes down to just when you're looking around your space and you see a pile, I think of that as a to-do list. And when I have this giant to-do list, I can't sit down, be creative, be in the moment, and just relax. So start with the room you're in the most and you want to enjoy the most, and just start there. Try to declutter, take out things. And the main thing to think about is storage. So it's not necessarily that you have to have less, but everything should have a spot. So it might be where each thing has a spot. There's storage bins. You could use baskets, whatever fits your space and your feel and your style, and where you could just hide things in a basket that you use often, but it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, so you can enjoy your space, but yet it's there. One of the bins in our living room is just a big wicker bin, and like the bottom's like filled with toys or like video game cords, and the top has like a pillow on it. So you'd never know, but it's always there when the kids need their things.
That's perfect. That's a perfect idea. And what are some, okay, so you start with your space, where you're at. What about that junk drawer? Is that important to worry about? Most people have that one junk drawer, right? Like in the kitchen or something.
Ultimately, it's up to the person, where if you're content with having to dig through that drawer to find what you need and it's working for you, don't mess with it. But a lot of times that when you see like that much clutter and chaos and it's taking you time to dig through it, it's also causing stress in that moment. You're like, I need this battery for the remote. This show's going to start, or whatever the situation is. It's usually you just want to get something quick, where if you have, say, they have like those organized dividers. I'm kind of thinking like the silverware dividers, but you could something similar for any drawer, and everything has a little section: pens, batteries, cords, scissors. And then it's, right where to put it when you're done with it. You can easily grab it to go. It's just one step less of stress.
Yeah, I like that, because too much stuff, it inhibits you from being creative, and we are creative beings, but it's that chaos, even if it's just not something you're dealing with, like the clutter in that room or whatever, but it's there and it's cluttering your mind. I think even subconsciously, it's just that unknown to-do list, right? The clutter there. So I love that. And I love the simpleness of putting the little dividers for your junk drawer. I mean, that just will declutter it in a way, and just going through it and organizing it. That's simple enough. So I love that. And the baskets, that's so good. So why is it important? I mean, with your background of their occupational therapists and stuff, I think you might have some more insight of why it's important to have that organization for our mental state, and why, why is that important?
Yeah, the kind kind of the cleanliness and organization of our home has kind of a lot on our mental health than we think. We think, oh, it looks nice, no big deal. And there's some things I won't even get into today, just like the safety of a clean home or dusting, allergens. Like those aren't even on the list I'm really going to talk about today, but those are always important too. But we kind of talked about it helps reduce stress. So when things are cluttered and disorganized, it just makes us feel anxious. And when things are clean, it helps promote a sense of calmness, and it just gives peace to our environment, helps us just to relax, to unwind. So that stress factor is a big important part of that.
Do you think that comes into play even for your children? I mean, they're little, and they don't really care, right? You would think they don't really care, but do you think that comes into play in their mental state as well? I mean, not just as moms and dads.
I would say there's probably two parts of that. The other day, my son, we just got done cleaning, and he walked up the stairs and he's like, "This looks really nice, Mom." And he's 6. So like just that reaction he had, like you could tell on his face like that. He was just like, this is good.
That's good.
And then, so absolutely, I'd say that plays a part into it. And then kids also, if there's a designated spot for everything, they can help with that cleaning process. They know where it goes. They know where to get their things at. So that definitely can help. And then when we're in a calm space, our kids kind of feed off of our energy. So if we're calm and relaxed, that's going to help our children be calm and relaxed.
Good point. Yeah.
So kind of a double factor with that.
Yeah, that's good.
And another part, it helps our mental clarity, where when our house is decluttered, our brain is decluttered. So kind of like I mentioned, that to-do list, when we look around, our mind is, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to clean the kitchen. I got to fold this laundry. It's just never ending. And it just helps us feel at ease when we're not having those constant thoughts of what we have to do.
Yeah.
It helps with better concentration. That helps with better decision making. And then it also helps us be more motivated. So I'll tell a quick story. My little boys and I cleaned the house really good the other day. And my husband comes home and he's like, I'm so glad the house is clean. And then he was doing all these things in the garage and getting all this work done. And I was like, you had a lot of energy today after work. And he's like, I sat on the couch for a minute and I looked around and I thought, I can just go outside. There's nothing, dishes are done. I don't have to do anything in the house. I can go outside and do things. So he was playing with the boys, fixing the go-kart. I don't remember what they were doing, but so yeah, definitely that motivation piece when we're not having to do the to-do list gives us that freedom to do things our mind enjoys, hobbies, exercise, being in nature, all of those good things.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's a good point and then like you were saying about how the kids then, there's spaces for everything. Your kids probably more helpful or more mindful to put things away in their space because they know where it goes. And at least, even if you can teach them that, to help them, let's put our toys away when we're finished or whatever. And then to allow that space of time of creativity or just relaxing or getting other things done, just enjoyment and stuff. I love that. So that's a great reason to have your space organized and clean. That's good.
My 6-year-old the other day, he kept saying, Mom, you make us do so much. I don't do as much as other 6-year-olds. And it just kind of made me laugh thinking of all of these things we're talking about. And so we just sat down and had this conversation about how, as a mom, we have to guide our children to do things. And I'm like, my job as your mom is to have you grow up and have the skills to take care of yourself when you move out of the house.
That's good.
And I'm like, all these are important skills you need as an adult. Yeah.
So what else do you have for us to share?
A couple other things And this might seem like kind of a funny stretch, but when you think about it, it's not. That when your bedroom, at least kind of thinking in that domain, when it's organized, it kind of promotes better sleep.
Mm.
And just thinking about, this is one thing I worked a lot with the kids on, is kind of a healthy sleep routine at nighttime. And that if your room is clean, you can relax, your mind can calm, your body can calm, and you can just feel at peace and fall asleep easier and better quality sleep. And then that promotes everything the next day to help you feel rested, relaxed, get a good start to the next day.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even my mind, like if it will just keep going, usually I have a, just a little notebook and something to write with next to my bed. So I can just write those things down and get them out of my mind. But in the morning, I like to make my bed. I like the cleanliness. It looks, organized. My husband's opposite. He thinks we're going to get back in it anyway. So why make it, right? But so I'll make the bed. He'll make it sometimes too. But yeah, so to me, just that organization of even making the bed is helpful for me, and just for the whole day.
Yeah, and I don't remember where I heard it at, but I feel like there's a lot of theories about the importance of making your bed. And it's about if you got nothing else done today, you made your bed. I heard that once. And then just like for me, I'm working on making my bed regularly. Sometimes it might just be the top sheet or the comforter's flat on there. The pillows might be chaos, but it's made. And anytime I go in my room and my bed's made, I'm just like, oh, this is nice. Compared to if it's not, blankets and sheets are everywhere. It just feels chaotic anytime I walk in there. So that goes with that same thing of calm cleanliness. And it takes maybe a minute or two, depending on how many pillows you have or whatnot. But
yeah,
very quick and easy.
Yeah, I love that point about even having that rest too, that creates a restful space. Never thought about that, but yeah, that holds true for me, I think.
And then another thing with our homes, I just like to think about when we have our house the way we want it, and we are feeling at peace, it just gives us a sense of pride and well-being. We're more likely to want to share it with people. We can be in the moment, make those memories with our children, and just makes us feel good about our house.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Not that people will really judge when they walk into your messy house, but yeah, they'll, you'll feel better about it.
Absolutely.
And tell us a little bit of how your, inspired memory design products, what kind of products do you have, and how do they help with this organization that we've been talking about?
Yeah, I have a couple products in my store that help with organization. And one of them is a tiered tray. And some people may just think of a tiered tray as, oh, people decorate these things all nice and fancy, and I have to do these the set way, and I don't want to change it for every season. That's not necessarily, some people could use them for that. But some things you could do as simple as, like, this is my coffee zone. I have my coffee cups, my coffee filters, my actual coffee, and use it for functional storage. It doesn't have to be just this fancy piece sitting on a shelf.
Okay.
And then another one is our dough bowl riser. So it's just this little bowl. And one of the ways I styled it is I put it in the bathroom with like my lotions and my little soaps, and it's super cute. Or you could have it next to the sink and put your soap and your dish soap, your hand soap next to the sink. Those are a couple of things in the store that we have for organization. And then a lot of the other things in our shop, that all of the items in our shop are either handmade by myself or handmade from other small businesses.
Awesome.
So a lot of them, you can just something small to add just your own touch of personality to your space to make it your own.
Yeah, and I think that with when you take and make intentional spaces with, just making them look nice, and they don't have to have a lot of stuff, but just simply, like adding that dough bowl riser you were saying, it really elevates, I think, your I don't want to say pride, but just I don't know, brings a peace that it's just nice, right? And you just enjoy it more. I had a friend who, she was so good about getting things done, like things she wanted to redo in her house. Like, for example, her bathroom, she was putting up beadboard and painting it, and she just gets it done. She says, boom, boom, boom. And I was taking a little more time and then not as enjoying it as much because it was taking a long time. I thought, I got to get this done, and then just to be able to enjoy it, not just lag. So it just makes me think of that, of just making your space nice and keeping it organized, just like we've been talking about, helps you relax and enjoy other things that you want to do, spend time with your kids or whatever. And you're just, there's less chaos in your mental state and your life, and enjoy life more, live greater.
Yes. And a few things I always like to point out to people is when you think of like home decor stores, you just think of like these big grand houses you see on Pinterest. And that's not kind of about the feeling I want people to take from my store. I just want you to create a space that you love, create a space that you can find joy in. And it's not about comparing your house to these other houses. It's just about finding your joy, your peace, what makes you you, and what makes you happy in your home.
I love that. You said it perfectly. What I was trying to say. That's awesome. Thank you. So can you tell people, did you have anything else you wanted to share before we close?
I think a lot of things, it's just a process. It's a practice of doing these things, and it changes within every season of life. That sometimes it's easy to keep your house clean, organized, and maintained. In other seasons, it's not. And just give yourself grace, and just maybe each week or however you want to do it, just add one small piece, where it could be you start with making your bed. And then once you have your bed routine down, just create habits. Then start, what's the next step? What's one simple thing you could add to it? And then eventually it creates a good habit of each room you can pick up as you go. You have a spot you could organize. I don't want people to think I have to declutter my whole house to be happy. That's kind of not the intent we're going for. That will help. But like the bathroom, you were saying, your remodel, if you're trying to conquer too much and it's not letting you enjoy it. So just pick one thing at a time, build habits. It's a process, and figure out what works for you.
Love it. That's so good.
Always get your kids involved.
Yes, that's good. It teaches them, and you create those bonding moments, right? Just of working together and stuff. I love that.
Yeah. For the first time, we own a steam cleaner, and it sounds funny, but we would always go to the store and rent it. And for the cost it was to rent it, I'm like, we're just going to invest in a steam cleaner. Like, in our house, we have quite a bit of carpet, and it was just too much work to go rent one. So my 6-year-old thought it was the coolest thing to learn how to run the steam cleaner. Now anytime he gets it out, he's like, Mom, can I steam clean? And he gets so excited. So just the simplest, silliest things you can teach your kids to do, and they could find joy in doing it. And so now that's kind of his thing. When it's time to steam clean, that's his job, and he loves it.
That's perfect.
Yes.
That's great. So I know you have a discount for our listeners.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's Live Greater for 20% off in your store. And that's LIVGREATER. Is there anything else with that code? Just Live Greater, correct?
Live Greater. Yep. 20% off. And
perfect.
We always do free shipping, so that's already included.
Wow, that's awesome. Can you tell people where they can find your stuff?
Yeah. So my website is inspiredmemoriesdesign.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tricia, for being with me today. This has been so fun. Decluttering, just thinking about it, just frees your mind and stuff, and just having those peaceful spaces. It's been so helpful to listen to you today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me, Shelley.